Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are, and Happy New Year. This is a toast to you. Happy New Year, my friend. I appreciate you showing up on the first day of the year for the first Cichlids and Coffee of 2022. Thank you so much, everybody, for all the support you gave me in 2021. That was awesome. An awesome year. It had some ups and downs, but altogether, I'd say it was an awesome year. And let's see who we have here. Give you all a little bit of a shout out here. And let's see, Vibes Aquatics. Hello, Vibes Aquatics. And Sean Squill? Pronouncing that right? I'll just call you Sean. How's that? And I did my water changes on Wednesday, Sean. Hey, Jerry Delgado's here. Happy 2022 to you. And I hope you do see more fish and the fish that you want. And I hope they thrive. And Bruce Leroy is here. Happy New Year to you, Bruce. And Tom adding from one of my favorite places in the world, Malibu, California. Hi, Tom. Good to see you. Good to see you here. James Green is here. Good morning to you and Happy New Year. Cat Sailor. Hey, Cat Sailor. Old friend. Good morning and Happy New Year to Ben, GP, John W., the Mod Gang. All right. Happy New Year to you too, my friend. Jerry. Hey, Jerry. One of my moderators is here. Jerry's Fish Room. Follow Jerry's Fish Room on YouTube. He's getting that channel off the ground, and he's a good guy. He's got some very pretty fish. Check him out. Vinny is here. Check out Vinny's channel, Vinny's Aquatics. And Vinny is the one who made my sign, that beautiful neon sign that I have. That is also the new logo of the channel. And Brandon's here. Hey, Brandon, the Blind Fish Keeper. Check out his channel. Big channel shout out today. And Happy New Year to you, Brandon. And let me see. As I've gotten older, I don't really stay up that late on New Year's. It's a nice dinner with some friends, and, I go to sleep. Not the party animal I used to be. Vibes Aquatics, John Wallace. Hey, John, another moderator is here. Thank you, John. And I see GP is here. My wonderful moderators. Moderators are the ones who help keep the stream on track and let me know if anything's going on, and also moderate what people are saying so we keep it family friendly. Let's see here. Thank you, Vibes Aquatics. I appreciate that. And hey, Denny, another moderator's here. Denny's here. Thank you for showing up, Denny. My neighbor, not too far from here. So I'm coming to you from Nashville. I know sometimes I still hear from folks asking me about Southern California, and yeah, we are in, I am in Nashville now, and sold everything. Came here with nothing, a couple canister filters, a little bit of sponge media, and just got it all going again. And yes, Vibes, it is a fluid situation. Social discussing. When I first looked at that, I thought it said social distancing. I prefer social discussing. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you. Solar King's here. Hey, Solar King. And Hoppin' Topper, Bill McGrath. Okay, let's get going, because otherwise I'll spend all day on names. But welcome, everybody. We have over, about 50? Yeah, share it. Share the, maybe some folks are still sleeping off last night, but definitely share the link. Hey, R. Baglio, glad you're here. Good morning to you. So let's go ahead and do the official start. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe and that bell, the thumbs up. Let YouTube know that something good is going on here, and they'll share the channel with other fish keepers like you and me. And that's how we grow the channel, and took it from an idea, a scary idea, to over 40,000 subscribers. That was because of you folks doing that. So it's very appreciated. And for those of you who'd like to support the channel, consider becoming a Garage Gang member. Garage Gang, and you can do that by following the Patreon link that is listed under my most recent videos, and also by using the Amazon link to visit my Amazon store. You do support the channel. Anything you buy from my store or anywhere on Amazon gives a credit to the channel. And also, you can pick up swag like T-shirts and coffee mugs and things like that at the Spring Teespring store. Use live stream for a 10% discount. And also a big shout out to the channel sponsor, the Cichlid Shack in Tempe, Arizona. It's looking like James from the Cichlid Shack and myself will be attending the Orlando Aquashella in February. So if you can make Orlando, that would be great. We can meet in person, and I'll try and set up a time where I can be somewhere, and maybe at the fish tuber table, or maybe like I did last year at the Cichlids booth with Jay Wilson. I'll work something out so that you'll know where to locate me if you want to come by, say hi, and I can put a face with the name, with your YouTube name. So let's jump right into the into today's topic. And you'll notice, though, before doing so, that the tank behind me here, you'll notice I have 3 viejas in there, and in a 90-gallon tank that's kind of a square custom-sized tank. And they really start getting on each other. And one of the viejas is very dark, and for some reason that vieja and a green Severum that I had, a pretty large-sized green Severum, really just went at it with each other. I ended up giving the Severum back to I gave it over to Aquatic Critter. I just took it to the local fish store, along with the Phoenix, which was also another troublemaker. And I put this big plant in, right? You see right here, one of the elite cichlid, one of these giant elite cichlid plants, and it's created a break in the line of sight, and so it's calmed things down a little bit. I really do need to get these fish into a bigger tank. James is pushing that I turn the 300-gallon that I'm going to be getting from Glass Cages. He's pushing that tank become a African cichlid tank, mostly because I have fish that are going to be over 10 inches, whereas some of the South American fish, they get wide and thick, but they don't get quite as long, so they don't need the turnaround room of, let's say, a Malawi trout, which can get over 15 inches long. So I'll show you the African cichlid tank. It's doing great. There they are, the beasts, and a few of them in there are going to get ginormous. And so he's suggesting, James Largo is suggesting that I you can see that trout there in the top middle. He's going to become just a beast, but he's suggesting that this become the South American tank. My big hang up on that is that I would have to, in my mind, and maybe it wouldn't make that much of a difference, but in my mind, I'd have to pull out all of that substrate. That's a big job. That's aragonite and crushed coral, and I don't want aragonite and crushed coral. I don't want a high pH, a very hard water situation with the South Americans. So we'll see. We'll see if the I mean, you can comment below. Let me know what you think. But do you think these African cichlids will be okay in a 6-foot across 210-gallon? Or do you think that they need to go into a 7-foot across 300-gallon? So, yeah, your input, of course, for those of you out there who have South American, Central American experience, I would definitely like to hear your 2 cents on that, on where that's going to go. I have a couple more fish in quarantine, a turquoise and a fusco, which will be coming over to the 210. The fish in the 55-gallon, that little South American, I've got the redhead tapajos, I've got the baby green tears, the red spotted yellow Severums in there. They're all doing great. That tank is one of the tanks that I really enjoy watching. A couple chocolates in there, electric blue Ocharas that are just absolutely beautiful, and I'll give you a closer look. Never any problems in this tank. No violence, no aggression. It's really become one of the tanks that if I want to calm down, I'll look at this tank. If I want a little bit of excitement, I'll look at the other tanks. Quick roundup of the tanks there. Let's get into today's subject. I mean, it's almost like a New Year's resolution. What are the areas that I want to get better at? How do I want to become a better fish keeper? And just the camera. You know, you can always get better. You can always get better or worse. We're never really staying the same. We're always changing, and we're getting better or we're getting worse. And so I thought, okay, if I had to suggest some things to a fellow fish keeper, like how they could become a better fish keeper, what would be the 5 things that I would suggest, and maybe even get better myself at doing it. Not just suggest it to you, but also use the discipline on myself to get better in those areas. And so I have five for you. And I also have some bonus ones as well, like I always do. I've got a few bonuses I'm going to bundle in there for you as well. So the first tip, let me get my throat lubricated here. The first tip I'll give you is try to always have some meds on hand, and I don't mean for you. What I mean is meds. Some antibiotics if you can get them. I know in Europe it's harder to get them. Maybe you have to go to a vet, but in some parts of the world. But certainly if you can get a hold of some General Cure, API General Cure, get a hold of maybe some Fritz Maricin. Have some Cordon Ick or some comparable ick medicine. Have some salt around, which can help with bloat and things of that nature. Just have some basic meds on hand. And the other side of that is also watch the expiration date on those meds. So have them on hand, but stay on top of them, because if they go past the expiration date, they're not going to have the potency that they should have to fix your fish. But at the top of the fridge behind me, you can see up here, right up in this area, I have Maricin up there. I have Fritz Paracleanse. I have salt. I have General Cure. I have quite a few medications up there that I can just put into use immediately. So definitely, one suggestion is set up a little emergency medical kit for your fish, and it doesn't have to be real expensive. And I tell you, one way to keep that expense down with meds is to when it's situations where sometimes you can't remove the fish that's sick and treat separately, because what they're showing, for example, like a parasite, if you suspect parasites, there's a good chance you need to treat your whole tank. And if you're treating a 200, 300 gallon tank, you're going to get into a lot of expense. But if you have other kinds of diseases that maybe you can pull that one fish out, maybe a little bit of fin rot, maybe after, maybe the fish took a little bit of a beating, or maybe the fish has a little bit of a sunken belly, something's going on, and you're not really sure, you haven't quite nailed it down to parasites. Pull them out and put them into a QT tank. And that's number 2. Put them into a QT tank. Have a hospital tank ready, always ready. And I have one like over my shoulder here, back this way. There's a hospital tank back there, and it's 5 gallons. It's 5 gallons. Now, that's a little small for some of the bigger cichlids. So if, let's say, a 7-inch fish was to get ill, I'd probably have to. I have a 10-gallon and I have a 29-gallon, so I'd probably have to get those tanks going. So, but if you have a small tank like that, what you can do is you can that cuts down the use of meds and the cost of treating tremendously. So, I mean, imagine, treating a 5-gallon versus treating a 300-gallon or a 210-gallon. The dosage is much, much smaller, so you'll save a lot of money that way. So have a hospital tank available if you can, and also, of course, to go along with that, have some spare, like a spare sponge filter or some spare media that you can pull out. Let's say a little extra in your hang-on back, a little extra in your canister that you can just whip out, turn that canister off, pull that top sponge out, drop it into that instant quarantine tank. You'll have an instantly ready for fish tank. Just be sure the water is treated. What I do normally is I'll take media from an established tank, and then I'll fill that new tank with half of tank water from the same tank I took the established media from. Then I treat, right? I'll add water conditioner and then fill the rest of it up with temperature matched tap water. And what I end up with in the new tank is essentially a water change. It's going to be like a 50% water change. You're going to have a colony of beneficial bacteria ready to go, and so you can move that fish right in, and you can start treatment immediately. And much better than I remember one time I had to run out to, Petco like 15 minutes before they closed, picked up a 10-gallon tank. Oh, what about a lid? What about a light? What am I going to use for substrate? What filter am I going to? You don't want to get caught up in that if you have some fish that suddenly shows symptoms, and it's expensive fish. Some of these fish, maybe you grew them out. Okay, you paid $10 for them, but now they're 7 inches. And if you try to replace that fish, you're talking $60, maybe more, right? So it's have medications on hand, and have a hospital tank, and have some media. Have some media that you can throw into that hospital tank immediately. So my next suggestion, number 3 for becoming a better fish keeper, is to get off of the bucket brigade. It's just not worth it. The wear and tear, the spilling, especially if you have high tanks. This 210 is pretty high. It's almost as tall as me. Buckets they just get impractical. Buy yourself invest in a Python system that allows you to both siphon empty tanks and work right from the tap with something like this. Go right from the tap, and you can get these hoses are very, very long. You can get them 50 feet, I think maybe even 100 feet. You can also go to hardware stores, buy hose, and you can get as long as you want. But get off of the bucket brigade. You'll thank me if you're on it right now. If you've gotten off of it, you know what I'm talking about. It'll save your back. I remember doing all my water changes on Sunday and then going to work on Monday and just being so stiff from having to, lug all these buckets back and forth. If you're doing 50% water changes, let's say like back in California, right? I had a 150-gallon. That one was going pretty much from the tap from day one. It was right by the bathroom. But a 100-gallon, a 55-gallon, 29-gallon. So these buckets are going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And when I finally went exclusively on Python, it was a game changer, a total game changer. It went faster, and my only advice is that you really pay attention, especially when you're filling, because if you get distracted, you get off onto checking some text messages, some email. You'll flood, right? That water will keep running. It's not going to stop automatically because the tank is filled. So you got to really pay attention. You can't be distracted. Also, really make an effort to match temperature And that's actually one of my points here. So get onto a python, get off the bucket brigade. Bucket brigade is no fun. And certainly if you're young, a lot younger than me, 45 years younger than me, maybe you won't mind. Hey, how about in the new year, if we study? And this is something that I think is important. And again, it's almost like that. We're always getting better, or we're getting worse. We're either getting smarter or we're getting stupider. I mean, things are changing all around us all the time. We're being faced with new circumstances, and we're either learning and keeping up, or we're falling behind and we're getting stupid. So always try and add a little bit of fish keeping knowledge, whether you do it through YouTube, which can be a little bit dicey. I mean, some of the YouTube stuff out there is just nonsense. You're getting it from it's a YouTuber saying that too. But there's also a lot of respected folks out there that have published. Here's something by Paul Lucelle, A Guide to African Cichlids. I picked this book up at a bookstore, used bookstore, for $1. $1. I picked this one up at a bookstore, a used bookstore. I think it was like $2 or $3. Cichlids, A Complete Pet Owner's Manual. You can also participate in forums. One of my favorite forums I used to go to pretty frequently in the beginning was cichlid-forum.com. Cichlid-forum.com. Lots of information about a lot of different topics, including water chemistry, raising pH, KH, lowering nitrates. I mean, a lot of good information there. A lot of forums out there. And the Ben O. Cichlid, go to the Ben O. Cichlid, O''Cichlid Facebook group, and most of the advice I hear there is good, is solid advice. Sometimes you'll get something that's a little sketchy, and other fish keepers will chime in. It's always kept very respectful, and so you can get some good information there at the Ben O''Cichlid. So participate in forums, and maybe join clubs, but really apply the motto of my channel, which is always be learning and gaining information. And one of my personal philosophies is probably the stupidest person in the world is the one who thinks they know it all, and they become dumb real fast. So I think I really believe that the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. So doesn't mean you shouldn't have a sense of certainty, but there's so much knowledge out there, and I'm always learning. I'm always picking up tips, especially now that I'm getting into planted tanks, getting into the South American, Central Americans. I picked up some fluorite, some CCAM. I think it's fluorite substrate, and so I'm going to be setting up that Horizon tank as a planted tank. I have a lot of plants in a 29-gallon. I did a little walkthrough. I showed the 29-gallon. Those of you in the that are part of the Garage Gang, you received a special little video. If you haven't watched it, check it out. It shows the plants that I have in that 29-gallon. I've got a whole assortment of plants to see which ones do well with the kind of water that we have here in Nashville. And the ones that are putting out new growth, those will then go into the Horizon, that Horizon 8-gallon project. Then those same type of plants, now knowing that they thrive in my water, will then be part of the planted discus tank, which is the project that will be occurring after the 300-gallon is set up. So those are the two big projects that I hope will be done in the first half of the year. Have that 300-gallon up and running, and have a discus tank that is with the help of James over at the Cichlid Shack. We'll get all that rolling, and also with the help of the patrons, the Patreons. And next point: be better at matching temperature. And I know some of you are real good at that, and some of you are maybe don't care. But I'll tell you, you do something like this. You get a digital thermometer. I've promoted these before. Digital thermometer. This one happens to be made by a company called Taylor. I think they make like science measuring stuff. But it's instant. Like if I turn this thing on, it's 76.6 degrees in my garage right now. It's 76.6 degrees in my garage. So instantly, instant. Maybe half a second, 2 seconds. So what I do is I measure the tank that I did the water change in, right? It's missing 40% of its water. The sensor, the heater sensor, is out of the water now, so I can't go off of. I guess I could lower that sensor, but that's going to be inaccurate. What's reading on the controllers? So I dip this in the water, gives me an accurate temperature, and then I temperature match the faucet before I switch the Python to fill up the tank. So I'm within a degree normally when I fill the tanks. I'm within a degree. If I'm doing a very big fill, like with the 210, if I do a 50% water change, it's 100 gallons of water, right? So that's a pretty long fill up time, and so maybe about a third through it, and then 2/3 through it, I'll measure the tap again, just to make sure that there haven't been any fluctuations because of the water heater heating the water up more, or maybe someone started the dishwasher, or someone's taking a hot shower and it's changed the temperature. So I check the temperature, and with this again, it's a second, 1 second, and then you can adjust very, very quickly. So get a hold of a digital thermometer, be a little better at matching. Not even because I think it's gonna. Your fish probably can take, depending on the size of the tank, your fish can take a little bit of a temperature difference. The smaller the tank, the more you'll shock your fish. The larger the tank, the more forgiving it is, right? So because there's just a lot more water to change the temperature of. So this is why bigger tanks, in a lot of ways, your bigger tanks are easier to take care of than your smaller tanks, because they have more dilution, right? They're diluting more, and so they're more forgiving. And whereas a little 5-gallon tank, you have your temperature off by 4 or 5 degrees, you're probably going to shock those. You're probably going to kill those fish. So something to consider. So those are the 5 tips, and I've got some bonus tips for you. And before I do that, let me take a look at what you're talking about. Let me see if you have any comments, or I'm gonna scan the chat here and see if you have something to say here. If you have any questions, I can take them up. Looks like we have 117 people on, and that's good. Let's see here. I'm scanning the chat, and if I missed a super chat, I'm sorry. I wasn't looking at the chat, and a super chat is just a way to throw a little dough at the channel. And for those of you who don't know, you can do it right under the comment section. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them now. Hey, Frank, Happy New Year, my friend. And thank you so much for that super chat. And blessings to you too, my friend. What happens to that super chat money? What happens to the the Patreon money? It helps with things like this. This is a new microphone system that I've picked up for the iPhone. My iPhone volume and audio was horrible, so I picked up this little system here. This is a system made by Sky. This clips onto my clothes, and this plugs into the iPhone. And now I can give you a iPhone video filmed with my iPhone that is actually very, very good in the area of audio. The 3 key principles, if for those of you who want to start a YouTube channel: audio, video, right? Audio and video are extremely important. And lighting, it's the with AVL, I think AVL, like audio, video, and lighting are the 3 key components. So I'm able to, with your help, reinvest into things like that and be able to provide you a sharper picture, a better audio quality, experience. Go back to some of my early videos, and the lighting, the color, anyway, it's you'll see how far we've come, and a lot of it because of your help. All right. So, Tyler McElhenney, I'm just going to call you Tyler. That definitely get the hook as well. Love the Python. Now, the hook is where you can actually hook the hose onto the tank. And yes, that's a very good thing because you don't have to worry about the hose coming out of the tank necessarily. And for those of you who've had that happen, you know how much water, how quickly can get all over your floor. So the hook is Python has a whole system that you can, and the quality of their hoses are very easy to work with, and they're a little bit softer, a little bit bigger. It's just a real quality product. I tried the Aqueon, and I had two Aqueon siphon systems. Both of them broke. So I don't recommend them at all. I know they've tried to reinforce them or make them stronger, but I sort of lost faith in them. And let's see here. Poppin' Topper has two Oratus. I will pray for you, my friend. You think about getting rid of the Lelupi? Are the Oratus, are they breeding? I mean, if I had the Oratus breeding and you're getting pry, but Oratus and I have we don't really have a good history together. So, beautiful fish. Hey, Paul, I'm glad you popped in. I appreciate that, my friend. And thank you, Casual Aquatics, for suggesting that people smash that like button. Sean says, I try to match my water temp when doing a water change. I go by feel, though. Used to use a thermometer. I don't anymore. Just go by feel, and it's been great the last few years. Hey, you know what I say? If it's working for you, it's working for you. I just like the fast accuracy of a digital thermometer. It's a one-time investment. I've had mine for several years. Haven't had to change the battery yet. Anyway, that's just me. Color Guppy says, I always match temp when doing water changes on rainbow fry. And there's other fish too, like your discus. You know, you don't want to shock them. As a matter of fact, I've heard with discus, you don't want to do large water changes. You want to keep the water changes perhaps more frequent, but less total percentage. So maybe 10 to 20% max, but you do them several times a week, as opposed to the big 80% change you might do with African cichlids, who are super hardy fish and seem to really enjoy their water changes. I mean, after you do a big water change for African cichlids, I mean, they fire up, right? They color up. They're all excited. So I love Severums. I know you're talking about the personality of Severums. I love Severums, the way they interact, the way they, Anyway, it's really like the Severums. Yeah, GP, I like to run the tanks a little bit hotter than 76, so I do run heaters. But one thing to keep in mind is that your equipment very often can be warming your water. Some canisters, some power heads, right? They're producing some heat when they run. Some pumps, like in your sump, your pump can be producing heat, and those can be sources of heat. And in some cases, that can be enough. I have a controller on the 210. And I would like to run the tank close to 80, and the controller is all the controller has the power off almost all the time, because the tank stays, even when it's cold, it stays right around 80. And I think that's got to be because of the power head, the fluval, the motor on the fluval, and also the Cichlids 2,500 gallon per hour pump, right? So those things are producing heat, and so. Just something to keep in mind. I really thought I was going to have a problem heating this, but we keep the door open up here. There's a door that leads to the house, and that door is kept open. So the heat from the heater in the house is kind of spilling into here. I insulated with a thick styrofoam from Home Depot. I insulated the garage door, and so it's made a big difference, real big difference. All right, so let's see. Any more comments here? Colored guppies. YouTube is a resource, but not the end all for fish keeping. And yeah, colored guppies, I'd agree. And a lot of YouTube is basic. And I'll say that about my channel too. My channel occasionally will get into some advanced fish keeping topics. Can you get a full nitrogen cycle with a deep substrate? Should you use expensive media or go all sponges? Should you use, these are concepts that a brand new fish keeper who just picked up his 5-gallon, 10-gallon tank at Petco, he's not really thinking about that. So sometimes I get into advanced subjects. Very often I do go into basic subjects. Because this really is a channel like for all types. At some point, I was even considering breaking the channel off into 2 parts. So we have a beginner section, and then we have a more advanced section where we get into some of the more, heady, controversial type subjects. And so just something I thought of at one point, but I wasn't really sure if I wanted to break up the library into 2 parts. That'd be just an enormous job. And let's go ahead and get back to the list. Let me give you the bonus points. Let's get into some of the bonus points for you that I came up with. And these are just the bonus things I thought of off the top of my head. Like before we started the live stream, I said, well, these are also important. I think I'll include them. And each one of them could be, I guess, a video of some kind. But bonus points. And this one is probably the most important one that I'll give you. And that's to worry less and enjoy more. And I've seen this with a lot of fish keepers, and I hear it in questions that I get on Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube. People that are very, very worried. Oh my goodness, my nitrates are up around 30. I don't know what to do. I've tried everything, and it's like, take a deep breath and just don't worry about it that much. It's not going to kill your fish. Fish can tolerate much higher nitrates than that, and now, if I was selling you products that supposed to reduce nitrates or help to control nitrates, yeah, I would want you to be really worried, and that way you would buy more of my products. But if you get onto some of these forums or some of these fish keepers that have been around for 40, 50 years, very often they're not that crazy about nitrates. They're like, yeah, they're 30, 40. Yeah, so what? My fish are thriving. Color's great, active, eating, healthy, long lifespans. And I'm not saying neglect that area, and it certainly is an indicator if it starts to creep up. And anyway, we worry too much. I think we worry too much. What's that spot on my fish? Oh my goodness, let me send you a picture. And that fish bumped into something, ran into a rock, and has a little bump on his head, the same way you or I would have a little bump on our head if we hit something, and just needs a little fresh water and some time to heal up. And but oh my goodness, do I have colomeris? Do I have to treat the tank? Should I pull them out? Should I? Anyway, worry less, enjoy more, and also if you ever get to a point where you feel like it's really mostly work and not enjoyment, it's time to cut it back. Cut it back. You have too many tanks. You have too many. Something's going on. And anyway, enjoy the heck out of it. It should lower your blood pressure, not raise your blood pressure. And, I consider my YouTube channel to some degree a bit of a point of enjoyment. And I know there's some YouTubers out there that actually have built their channel on rants. I was watching this YouTuber the other day. He's in the fish community, ranting and monitoring his heart rate. Oh, my heart rate's over 120, and I'm just so I'm so pissed about this, and it's fish, and it's not worth getting yourself all into a froth. Point number 2: take fast action. If you notice something, you notice a bully, you notice some fin damage, you notice something's going on, and you feel it needs intervention, get in there. Get in there and that's why having a spare tank, pull that bully out or pull the fish that's been beaten up, pull them out, put them in the spare tank, let them recover, and take fast action. Don't let things just sort of drift. Like on Monday you noticed the fish was getting a little beaten up. You got busy during the week with work. You didn't get to spend too much time watching your tanks. On Friday you got a dead fish, and so fast action is always good. I suggest you post to YouTube. Now, whether you make your posts public or you keep them private, I suggest you upload some videos, because YouTube will provide you with free storage. And you can go back and look at how your fish looked a year ago real easy, as opposed to going through your own video library and blah, blah, blah. You go to your channel, which you can keep unpublished. You go to your channel and you check out your fish and go, wow, that fish has really grown compared to how he looked 6 months ago. I wouldn't have guessed he'd grown that much. So it's a little bit eye-opening. And also, over the course of time, you'll lose a fish or two. And for me, it's kind of nice to go back and visit a fish that I really, really liked. And I either sold him when I moved from California, or he, died for whatever reason. And I just love revisiting those fish. It kind of reminds me, I need to get another fish like that, because I really love that fish a lot. So anyway, upload to YouTube and stick with what works. Don't chase fads. The latest and the greatest. And maybe I've created some of that myself. Talking about deep substrates and tanks without decor versus tanks with decor. Maybe I've caused some people to make a drastic change in their tank and restart the cycle with too much of an impact on the beneficial bacteria. And if I have, I apologize. That's not my intention. If it's working, if your fish are vibrant, active, eating aggressively, that's one of the top things I look for in the health of the fish. Eating aggressively. Be a little bit reluctant to make any changes. Just be a little bit reluctant to make changes. Stick with what works. Help other fish keepers. That to me is boy, you know how much I've learned? I'll make a comment on Facebook and go, hey, have you tried this? And then someone below my comment will say, I tried that and I got okay results, but then I did this and it was incredible. And I go, wow, that makes more sense. Like someone talks about blowing out a heater when they did a water change because the water went below the level of the heater. And then someone comes out and says, hey, you can take submersible heaters, you can put them horizontal. Put them near the bottom of the tank. Heat rises, put the heater down near the bottom horizontally, and you never have to worry about unplugging them unless you're doing like a 99% water change. Oh, well, that makes sense. So help other fish keepers, and you'll actually learn by helping other fish keepers. That's an interesting thing how that works. And now my last bonus point is keep a log. Keep a list of. You can do it on your phone. I used to do it on my phone notes, and I'm going to be doing it again on my phone notes. Phone notes for me were the easiest, but also like a log of just a list of things, especially if you have several tanks. When's the last time you serviced that canister? When's the last time you rinsed out the media in that hang-on back filter? And did you start rinsing it with tank water? Did you start using tap water to rinse the media? If you notice a change in the health of your fish, you can go back and go, oh, look, ever since I started rinsing my sponges in tap water, my fish are not quite as active and vibrant. Maybe there's something going on here. I'm going to go back to using tank water. So you can spot changes and then make more informed decisions about what you're doing with your fish in your tanks. So keep a log if that's possible for you. Keep a log. With today's, between phones and computers and just plain old pen and paper, I have a whiteboard that some of you see in the background of my videos. I have a whiteboard, and I'll write things up there too. Like when I started a certain project, or the last time I cleaned out the FX6 on the 210, it'll be on the whiteboard. So I have it right in front of my face, as well as projects that I want to carry out are on that whiteboard. So So those are the bonus tips. Do you have some tips that you would give somebody so that the new year is going to be better for them in their fish keeping? If you do, share them. Put them below in the comments. If you're watching the replay, put it in the comments. If you're live, put it in the chat. And because we all learn from each other, and your comments very often are amazing, the suggestions that you make and all the experience. When you think about it, think about all the people on the stream right now. What have we got between all of us here? We probably have about 500 years of combined fish keeping experience coming to bear here in one group of people. When you add up all the years, everybody on the stream has been keeping fish. That's pretty powerful. And, when I do surveys on the YouTube community page, I'll do a survey. Get 700, 800 respondents, people that reply to the survey. That's pretty powerful. That's a good survey. Yeah, I shared some of the survey results with Glass Cages about what people were looking for when they go buy an aquarium. They were surprised, and they were like 700, 800 replies. So it had meaning. There was meaning to it. So at any rate, we have a very good group here, and it brings a lot to the table, a very lot to the table, and I love helping those new fish keepers not have to go through the hard knocks that some of us veterans have had to go through, where we've lost fish and everything else. We can share with them, and maybe they'll listen. Maybe they won't, but a lot of my best lessons are the ones I learned by making the mistakes. So I don't know, maybe there's something, some people like to learn that way. So let's take a look at your comments. Before I do that, very quick shout out to founding patrons. These are my founding patrons. Quick shout out to the founding patrons. And again, follow the link to how to become a member of the Garage Gang, and you will get behind the scenes videos not available anywhere else, and special messages from time to time. So thank you to my founding patrons. You folks are rocking. So let's take another look here at the chat and see what's going down here. Peas and Hap says I should have the African cichlids in the 300. So you're in the same camp as James Largo, and he loves African cichlids, as do I. And his point is well taken that a lot of those fish are going to be 15, or more inches, and whereas the South American, right, the chocolate, the Severums, the Jack Dempseys, the green tears, they get thick, and they get big. They get 9, 10, 8, 10 inches, but you don't get that 15-inch. That where you need that big turnaround and that long sprint across the front of the tank. That's more African cichlids. So I'm looking at your chat here. Let me go back and scroll back. You're going to see the current chat, but I'm going to see the. I'm going to scroll back into the older part of the chat. Peas and Haps getting into grow out tanks. Yeah, it's fun to watch them grow and color up. Tyler, your garage floor level, how do you shim your tanks? I use these composite shims. They're like a hard plastic shim. These behind here have shims on them. The 200, the 210 has tile, like hard fired kitchen tiles on one side and along the back a little bit to give it support, because I have a slope of as much about a half-inch slope, so that, which is good, I guess. If we ever had a flood or anything, the water would drain out of the garage, which is good. I could hose the floor if I wanted to. I could squeegee the water out. But it is something to consider. And the 300 is going to go right here to my left, and so it's going to have the back of the stand supported. And I don't want to use wood because inevitably you get some water down there, right? So I'll probably end up using maybe a very large piece of very hard plastic, something that will be waterproof but will lift the tank. Maybe get more, maybe more of those hard tiles. Uh, they haven't cracked. They hold the weight fine. They're very, very strong, right? Maybe use some tiles all along the back that I could just pick up at Home Depot. And because there's a tremendous amount of weight, so it's got to be strong. But I used to use the wood, the little wood shims you can buy. And somebody pointed out, look, eventually that's going to get wet. Those wood shims are going to rot. And so, yeah, it made sense. It made a lot of sense. So if you go to my Amazon page, amazon.com/shop/Ben Ochart, all one word. The shims are there. The plastic shims that I use are there. And they're easy to work with. You can push them in as far as you need, then you break them so they don't show. So they're good. I like those shims. Yeah, it looks like James is getting wants to fly to Nashville. James, you're welcome here in Nashville. You want to help me set up that 300? Come on down, my friend. James is the sponsor of the channel. He has a lot of sway. His opinion matters. Bruce, Vinny's Aquatics, happy. Okay. I'm looking at your comments here. Hey, Vinny. Thank you, Vinny. Eric says the biggest fish should have the biggest house. Okay, I see the way this is leaning. I guess in the end, you know, at the very core of this YouTube page, I think at the very core, the very heart of this YouTube page, are African cichlid lovers. I'll get into South Americans and Central Americans. I'll get into a planted community tank. But at the very core of this channel, what do I have? I have a very dedicated, hard-headed group of African cichlid keepers. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yeah. So, all right. So I'm going through the chat here. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them now. And James, it's so nice to have you on here. James is very, very busy. He's got so many orders he has to process, and he's probably working he probably has this up on the screen while he's working, because yeah, I know he has got so many orders over there. We were talking the other day. He's got a lot on his plate, including a brand new facility that's being built out with breeding tanks, and it's going to be amazing. And I'm going to fly out there and do a tour. Once he gets that place set up, I'm going to go out there and do a tour and show you the new facility. I'm sure it's going to be epic. And, you know, he's working on plumbing issues and things of this nature. And it's going to be quite the setup. And so I'm going to be taking a trip out there, no doubt, and filming that place, doing a walkthrough. And I also want to do an interview with James. I want to do an interview with James about life selling fish. You know, it's not like they just come in and you buy them for a nickel each and you sell them for $50, and there's nothing in between. I've heard some of the stories from James, and anyway, I want to get a behind the scenes, like the truth about being a fish retailer, and the things you go through, the ups and downs, and share that with you folks as to what it's like, so that when when you buy some fish, you'll appreciate really what's really happening there. All right, so Vinny's Aquatics, I actually got a drawing to send you. Oh, this is for casual. Okay, I thought you were going to send me a drawing. And let's see. All right. So I think we're getting close to the hour. I want to thank all of you for attending today, the first live stream of the year. I'm let's have a great year. I keep telling everybody, we've gone through some funny times, but let's concentrate on the good things that happened last year. We had some great things happen, and let's make this new year like the best year, not just in fish keeping, let's just put it there. Let's put it there that this is going to be a great year. And I really hope that for you folks. I really do, that you have like the best year ever, and that some great stuff happens to you. And I really appreciate you showing up for today's stream. And I want to thank my moderators. I want to thank James for showing up and providing the support that he provides to the channel on an ongoing basis. And let's finish off with a little look at the fish. Every fish you see in here is from the Cichlid Shack. Look at that living, look at that Johnson eye. Oh my goodness. That Venusus is just getting prettier and prettier, and the blaze is like an electric yellow on the forehead of the Venusus. Look at the lips. Look at the lips on that gar, that Malawi gar. It's amazing. Anyway, I just love looking at this tank. And you can see, yeah, there's an occasional little chase here and there, but it's not the, there you go, there's one right there. Oh, look at that. The living stone eye is fired up. He's been mostly spotted recently. When he's spotted, he's mellow. When he goes all blue, he goes on the warpath. Look at that oculatus, Lethronops oculatus. Beautiful fish. Of course, that tangerine tiger is just off the chart. That trout is really blossoming. See how big that trout is? And yet he's at the very beginning of coloring up. I mean, he's just going to be a monster right there in the middle of the screen. Just an absolute beast. That eye biter is, believe it or not, actually pretty mellow. And you know, this can change. Any one of these fish at any moment could lose their mind. We know that. We'll see what happens after I put that Fusco in there, right? I'm putting another Nimbochromis in there. This Fusco's pretty mellow. In the beginning, he was a little nippy, but he's pretty mellow. The turquoise hap, he doesn't really want to get into anything with anybody. But that Fusco, I think, is going to work out. I love Fuscos. Absolutely love Fuscos. You see that project board? Right up there, right in the middle there, that little white board. That's where I'm writing up my projects. And that's where I keep my my notes. And here we have the South and Central American. And yes, Severums are something. I love Severums, especially red-spotted Severums, the way they interact. And I'm really looking forward to watching those green terrors. Those are the green terrors that have the white on the end of the tail. These are not the yellow or orange some. These are the little green terrors that have the white edging on the fins. Get my head out of the way. I've seen the background there. That little tank next to the mess on the right. That's the that's my spare tank there. It's a 10-gallon. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's a 5-gallon. And it is cycled and ready. I can put a fish in there right now if I have to. That's where the Severum was that I took over to the aquatic critter. Next to it, behind the 90-gallon, you see the planted tank. You see some Amazon swords. There's about 10 different types of plants in there and a variety of small fish, embers, cherry barbs. There's some lemons. There's some Danios, celestial Danios, red nose. There's some, there's a whole variety of just little guys in there, some small green cories. And then, of course, we have the 90. Now, the 90 right now is a lot calmer than it was before, and I believe it's because I put that break in the line of sight. And so that large, the Severum you see there, the dark one in front of the plant, is able to kind of stay off of the radar of the other two larger Severums. Those AC Hecalides are getting really large. And I've got those Ceremonensis and Nicaragua cichlids in there too. So these really need to go into a bigger tank. And if James will come out and help me, maybe we'll move them into the 210. I'll put it back on you, James. All right. So that's it for me, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And let me take that. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And Happy New Year to all of you. And I hope to see you next week. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a video out tomorrow. I'm going to try to, but not sure. I have a lot to do today. But thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the super chats. If I missed your super chat or your comment, I'm sorry. Had a lot to cover today, and I hope to see you next week, okay? Thank you, everybody. And never forget, you rock, my friend.